Greetings, this is starseedscotty sharing an astrological horoscope for the full moon in Libra on March the 20th, 2019. This will be a very, very powerful full moon for quite a few reasons, which we'll go into. And the first thing off is that this is the spring equinox, which is actually the astrological new year, because the sun is entering 0 degrees Aries. And here's the sun here, conjoining Chiron, opposing the moon in Libra. So Aries is the first sign in the zodiac, of course. It's our instincts, it's our willpower, it's birth itself. It's the seed that's first germinating, like in springtime. And it's conjoining Chiron, which is adding a very deep connection to our story, because Chiron is known as the wounded healer. And it just entered Aries this month, and it's been in Pisces for the last 7 or 8 years. So this is kind of on the cusp too, because 1 degree, 0 degrees Aries is very, very close to Pisces. And we have the Mercury retrograde still at 18. Mercury is conjoining Neptune here, very close, 2-degree orb. So that's really emphasizing our spiritual connection in this full moon. Mercury on Neptune is amplifying that, and you can see here that Neptune is very close to exactly sextiling Saturn at 19. So there's a real spiritual energy in the air, but it's being grounded, and actually we can see that there's a grand trine in Earth, I believe. It might not be exact, but here is Saturn Pluto at 19. Here is Mars and Taurus at 23. And then the other trine actually here is the moon. Now technically the moon is 0 Libra for this, but 0 degrees is that critical degree. And I have Uranus at 0 degrees Capricorn in my natal chart, and I really feel when it's a 0, it's kind of in the middle of both signs, and it's this kind of no man's land, because 0 is an interesting number. It's the 0 point. It's kind of this connection to the quantum that many people talk about. But this grand trine is in Earth is really, I think, is grounding all this energy, because we have so much. We've got a lot of air energy and water, which is very celestial, because Mercury, Neptune here conjoined at 2-degree orb that's a very, very spiritual, and it can make us confused. But if we use that mystery and explore it with our mind, with Neptune, because Neptune is the oversoul of Venus, and that energy can, if we kind of follow the intuition that Neptune and Pisces is all about, then we can be guided. There's 2 ways of seeing Pisces. Quite often people say, I only believe it if I see it. But Neptune and Pisces would really say, I believe. If I believe, then I will see it, because we'll be guided to where we need to see. And it reminded me of something. There's a post in Facebook of a group I'm in, and this person was saying that that the guidance she was getting was she was getting to believe in the soul, or believe in herself, something like that. And that was related to Chiron, but it made me think there's key words that are associated with every astrological sign. And the key word for Pisces is I believe, whereas the key word for Aries is I am. And that really made me think of that message was the cusp, because we've got a lot of cusp energy here of Pisces and in Aries, where the sun is. So if we have the belief of Pisces, then when it goes into Aries, the I am is kind of, that's just this knowing. It's we can use the belief we have of all the spiritual lessons, which with Chiron and Pisces, to start to act upon them or to face them. And I think that's really going to be highlighted. There's going to be a lot coming to the surface with the Sun conjoining Chiron. Chiron's a very interesting centaur. Its orbit is between Saturn and Uranus. And Saturn's all about the consensus, like the structures of reality, like everything that we see, everything in 3D reality. But Uranus is very different. Uranus, over here, the critical degree of Taurus, 0 degrees Taurus, is all about the 4D and 5D. I find it fascinating when people talk about dimensions and densities, because it's pretty obvious when we go into spiritual story and we start to follow our path that there's much more going on in different dimensions. Uranus is kind of this planet that shows us that. I heard once that we often think that higher dimensions are a different place, like 5D and 6D and 4D. I'm ascending, but from what I heard, it's not necessarily a different place, it's a different experience. And this is where the idea of interdimensionality comes in. But that's a whole different story. So let's just look at some of the aspects. So this grand trine in Earth. Yeah, so Saturn, it will be exactly, Mars in Taurus is almost exactly trining Pluto. It's been trining Saturn, which has kind of been asking us about how we use our will with our Taurus nature, our desire nature, to start acting upon our things that we want, the things that we want to change. But with Saturn, it's more about making actions to stabilize. But Pluto is much more about what things can be changed to transform our reality. So Taurus is that, I believe it's a fixed Earth sign of things closer to home in our world, whereas Capricorn is much more about how it's the bigger picture of, if we really want to change our reality, we have to make a plan. Capricorn's all about taking steps and in this reality, things don't always happen instantly. They can if we're in a certain place and connecting to certain energies, but Saturn is a big teacher of discipline and responsibility. And when we see all the problems out there, it's so easy to react. This is kind of a Chironic thing. Chiron is quite often where wounds will repeat themselves. When we experience a wound, I noticed a lot in myself that none of us want pain, but unfortunately pain is a big part of reality. And quite often when we experience pain, we will resist it and then we will push it away, which only makes it attract again. And there's this meme that I've heard that I often refer to Chiron as resistance is persistence. If we resist something, now of course, it's not to say that when we experience pain or something comfortable that we'll say, I want more of it. That's not a natural thing. But when something arises, either a pain or something really uncomfortable with ourselves or someone else, it's very important that we just face it. And that's really the Aryan part, to face something and to try and understand source. Because if we just treat the symptom of when something comes to us, then we're not really going to look under the surface, which is that Piscean connection of that interconnection. But something which really relates to this full moon is self and other. Because Libra is all about relationships. Libra is Venus ruled. And I heard a really cool reference from an astrologer saying that the glyph of Libra is a bridge with a hump. So the bridge you could see as Libra always wants to connect, to bring unity, to feel, when we connect with other people in relationships, we can feel a oneness. There's no separation. But Libra is all about compromise as well, because in every relationship we will see that there's differences. My preference might be different from yours, and that hump is the obstacles that we will always encounter. There's always going to be difference. There's always going to be certain things, and conflict, which is much more an Aryan thing. Aries just with the Mars way is it's my way or the highway kind of thing. Aries can be very brash, and if it sees a problem, it'll just, because it's the ram, it's, that glyph of Aries here is the ram's horns. And if you see rams fighting, two male rams, they'll just basically go against each other. Whereas Libra is much different. Libra would be more about, instead of like with fists, it would be more like interlocking, unifying. So this is really that discernment of when we face things with a more Aryan, forceful way, and then when we discern where we compromise. Because if we compromise too much, like I say, our kindness can be taken for weakness, and we can be taken advantage of. And this really can be highlighted. It's not really a square, but Libra will be squaring Jupiter, which would really be going into that, but that's not real. That's 7 degrees. I wouldn't really consider that square for this. There is a lot of other really interesting aspects. So we looked at the Grand Trine. There's quite a few yods, which I find fascinating. Yods are also known as the finger of God or the finger of fate. And there's almost an exact one. When something is between 1 or 2 degrees, you can consider that powerful. And the energy is much more amplified than if it's 3 or 4 degrees. So this first yod is here with the North Node in Cancer. North Node in Cancer, Mars in Taurus, then Jupiter in Sagittarius. So with the finger of God or the finger of fate, there's 2 quincunxes. The quincunxes are these green lines where I'm circling here in the middle. The quincunxes are all about adjustment. It's 2 signs that do things in very different ways, and there's just like kind of awkwardness because they don't really know. There's a misunderstanding because they do things in different ways. That's the simplest way I can put it. So with Mars and Taurus, quincunxing Jupiter and Sagittarius, Mars wants to go forward, for us to take actions, to get earthy, things that, new approaches of the way we are existing in our life, either with our diet, with our just very physical things. Whereas Jupiter and Sagittarius is much more in the mental plane of like how we can change our ideas, our beliefs, our sense of spirituality, our faith. So Mars is very earthy, and then Jupiter is very mental and etheric, and that kind of, so they're different planes. Whereas Cancer, the North Node in Cancer, it's not a planet there, so it's not specifically an energy that's being connected in us, but because it's in this exact aspect, it's the energy of it seems to really be drawing forth. And Cancer is all about the emotions. It's the first water sign, so it's a very, very primordial emotion. So it's like the feelings that come up in us when we see something that either distresses us or excites us. And so the sextile here, sextile is a positive aspect in general. And key part of it is that it's a dynamic connection where 2 energies are water and earth, the water of Cancer and the earth of Taurus can work together. As I've said before, a plant is nourished by water because it will absorb the water and grow. And similarly, that's like a kind of water and earth. They can resonate. So what I really see from this is that our actions with Mars and Taurus, when we put the effort into our actions of like, if we see something, we're rewarded by that emotional satisfaction. I can say that for myself. I really follow my feelings, and for me to be in bliss, to feel pleasure, because Taurus is all about, sensuality and enjoying good foods and drinks. And when we nourish ourselves, then they will automatically nourish our emotional body. And I think that's what the sextile is all about. So when we follow our feelings to innovate, and also another thing I saw was in this, I opened this chewing gum up, and inside there was a message, and I thought it was a really cute meme. It was, it said, when you give more, you get more. No, when you give extra, I think that was it. Yeah, when you give more, you get more. I think it was extra because it was yeah. So that's really, that kind of connects with this because Mars is wanting to give and Taurus is physical. So when we give things, so like for another example is I have a couple friends who are homeless, and they're really, really beautiful souls, and I really enjoy connecting to them because they're very spiritual. And I made some food for them, just a simple meal, and so I was giving, and that's the taurine thing because it's food and it tasted. They really enjoyed the flavor of it, and it was very sensual, and we just kind of, it was a bonding experience, and the bonding experience would be the Cancer. Because Cancer rules family, it rules that emotional nourishment when we care for others. So I was giving, and then, I wasn't really expecting for anything in return, but I received this satisfaction of well-being that I helped someone, and that made me feel good, and they felt good. So I think there's this beautiful law of reciprocity, and to me, it's a really beautiful thing of compassion. And because the North Node has been trining Mercury in Pisces for quite a bit. Mercury's past that now, but for the last week or two in Mercury retrograde, I think it's really been that very ethereal spiritual Piscean plane is being grounded, or not grounded, but more. North Node in Cancer is much more connected to our here and now. Cancer is much closer to that because it's opposing the South Node in Pluto and Saturn. That's you can't get much more earthy than that. It's very heavy earthiness, that South Node. So the North Node is really asking us that when we do the work of the Pluto Saturn stuff, our way out of that heaviness is really about nurturing, supporting others. When we help others, we help ourselves. And that's really, really a big thing that I think Mars, when we do that, then those two quincunxes can be of Cancer and Taurus pointing up to Jupiter here. When we do that work, that practical work of Taurus to the emotional healing of Cancer, then we might get insights of wisdom. Because Jupiter is a very, very spiritual energy, and Sagittarius is searching for truth. So truth is out there. It's just like you see in the X-Files, but we have to search for it because you probably know, like me, there's much deception. We're getting out of 22,000 years of Piscean age, where deception, lies, abuse of power, and many, many mysterious things we're just scratching the surface of. The South Node, which is 2 degrees away from Pluto, will reveal everything that's happened. And I'm telling you, it's not, it's not necessarily the most pretty thing. It's not for the faint-hearted. But ironically, when we put our heart on our sleeve, so to speak, and we use our heart to feel that Capricornian corruption, then we can heal it. And that's what this Chiron Aryan thing, we have to put it right to the surface. It's very, very clear to me. But these things will be revealed over time. But this lunation is an opportunity for us to explore. Another big thing is Venus is exactly 23 degrees squaring Mars. I talked about that in the last horoscope. And yeah, so that's interesting that so there's a lot of Venus energy in this chart, because Venus in Aquarius, the exact degree of Mars Taurus, and then the Moon in Libra, which is Venus. It's a relationship theme. Yeah, it's I think Venus squaring Mars exactly. Venus also exactly sextiling Jupiter. I think when we do that extra work, or our awareness of how the interconnectedness of us in our groups affects our physical well-being of Mars and Taurus, then we'll learn much more about the guiding of Jupiter, which is our higher self and our belief structures. Because just like I said, if we see what we believe, or I could say, if we only believe what we see outside, and if everything else or many things outside are lies, then how are we going to find the truth? Might seem like an assumption, but I've developed my awareness and I can kind of see through, I can discern. It's a big part, and Libra can be seen as discernment as well. I think there's another finger god here, which I could maybe look at. Yeah, there's another exact quincunx. When it's exact, that energy is coming up to the surface much more. That's Uranus and Taurus with the Moon in Libra. So Uranus is entering Taurus. This is a new cycle. I believe it's 8 years. And I think this this quincunx of adjustment to awkwardness is that there could be, Uranus is all about suddenness, sudden changes, and the freedom, searching for freedom. And I think we'll find freedom in relationships, but we need to change things. Uranus doesn't. And Uranus is kind of in detriment in Taurus, because Taurus likes stability, and whereas Uranus always wants change. Uranus always wants innovation, and that's kind of this Venus square Mars energy is kind of resonating to as well. So yeah, I think this is really call for us to change things. One thing I forgot to mention is that the moon here at Libra is very close to this body called the supergalactic center. And the galactic center itself is at 20 degrees Sagittarius, but the supergalactic center is at, I believe, 1 degree of Libra. There's a really cool article I found that this from Philip Sedgwick, and it really goes into that the supergalactic center is so vast that it combines several galaxies. I thought the galactic center was big, but this is something that's intergalactic. And I won't read all this because there's a lot of information, but the thing that really just struck a chord with me when when it says that this powerful black hole devours everything in sight. M87 has the mass of 30 trillion suns, though 90% of it remains hidden to any observable form. That says a lot. 30 trillion suns. 1 trillion is 1,000 billion. So that's a number that's so vast that I can't even quantify that. I can't even visualize that. So there's definitely something of the other that's being called in this. That the healing work of the sun and Chiron is very, very in ourself, because nobody can heal ourselves for us. There's a quote I heard from this really cool channeler called Trebor Yitney from Capella Star System, and that's from a channeler called Rob Gauthier, you can find on YouTube. And they're a hybrid race of reptilians, benevolent reptilians, and there is a quote that they said that not even the most wise being in the universe can heal yourself for you. Now, of course, we can get guidance from ascended masters or angels or intelligences from all around the universe, but they can't do the work for us. And any being that says that they can do it for you, to me, that's a red flag. Because it seems that one of the laws of the soul self, it's really this cusp of Pisces Aries, is seeing our sovereignty. Uranus has been in Aries for 10 years, and that's really been showing us that our soul is very intimate to us, because every single one of us is completely unique. This is what astrology talks about. Our birth chart is the very seconds that we're born. It will never be repeated ever in the whole of history. So that's the beautiful uniqueness that we have. But what's even more beautiful is when we share that uniqueness, which is the mantra of Aquarius. Aquarius is being highlighted here in a kind of synchronous way, because we have Venus in Aquarius, we have Uranus and Taurus here. Now, they're not making an exact aspect, but the mantra for Aquarius is our unity, which would be Libra, uniting, is in our uniqueness, which is Aries. There's a lot of resonance here for sure. Yeah, so that could be considered a loose finger of God. I don't know if that really would be accepted by most astrologers, but there is two coming from here. So we got Uranus, which I talked about. We need to change things with our relationships. And then Venus quincunxing the moon. Yeah, that's Venus's relationships, especially in Aquarius, groups, finding our soul tribes. But it's kind of loose, so I wouldn't really say that's so amplified in this chart. So I think there is something else. Those are the main things, really. Okay. Yeah, so I want to show you some of the asteroids. See if there's some asteroids. This is the chart of the full moon from Serene of all of the asteroids that will be in how they are aligned. Now, what I look at is the asteroids are within orb of the planets. So let's see if there's anything. I think there is, I think Vesta, which I talked about before, will be with Mercury and Neptune. Actually, no, Vesta's moved on. Vesta's at 23. So the asteroid Sphinx will be conjunct the Sun. Pandora. Pandora, I know about, is Pandora's box, and one of the key phrases is curiosity initiates change. And that's a big theme because, you know, if you're honest, conjuncting the moon, change. But with Aries, the curiosity of Aries is like it just jumps in head first. That's what Aries rules the face, and it's the Rams. It's so. I think if we and Mars, Taurus is quite strong in this as well, and that's will. So I think really having curiosity or using our instincts to explore new relationships and the relationships we have to kind of look at them and how they affect ourselves. That's a big theme here. Uranus is conjoining Amor. Amor is platonic love. So yeah, that's and Uranus conjuncting Venus. So I think yeah, definitely when we can find the things we can share, the similarities, because that platonic is all about is a love where we kind of are yeah, we're just kind of finding the things in common and then like enjoying that and seeing the nuances. Yeah, I think that's what that's about. Minerva is also conjoining Uranus. I'm not too sure about that one. Mars will be conjoining Sedna. So I think there's a lot. This 3-degree orb, I want to show you the orbits. Sedna is a planet that's one of the transiting objects. Recently discovered, I think 2006. And how do I get rid of those? Clear screen, I think. Yeah, Sedna is really interesting because it's a feminine planet that has a myth. Yeah, all right, let's get out of this. So I think that's because Mars, you know, Mars is all about will, action, and it's a planet war, and you know sometimes war is necessary to change things, to destroy things, and Pluto is all about that as well. To rebuild things, sometimes we have to destroy the old structures. That's really, really this big theme of this cycle. But look at this picture of the orb of Sedna. Now, those rings in the left side are our planets. The orb of Sedna is this red ring. It's 11,400 years, which actually correlates to probably one of the galactic cycles. That would 12,000 years would be the precession, the equinox, because I think 28. Yeah, that's definitely connecting to one of the cycles. I think the Mayan calendar talked about some of those. But Sedna is it's such a. I mean, everybody has Sedna and Taurus, so this is a collective theme for sure. Now, just for a little information, so I always just type asteroid, and put astrology in the search engine. And Sedna, kind of like Pluto and many of the other asteroids, or actually Sedna is a planet because it's quite large. It has a dark theme. Doesn't mean it's evil. It's just like Pluto. There's this. We have to face the dark to see the light. And dark goddess archetype, similar to Eris, and they resonate with the Persephone myth. And there's a lot of story behind Sedna, and so some of the key words are victim, betrayal, ethereal, delusion, not of this world, numbing, cut off, dismemberment, skeletons in closet, deep sea treasure, sirens, mermaids, vanity. Um, let's look at the discovery chart now. That will clean. So it was discovered in 2003, and said the sun is at 21 degrees Scorpio, conjoined the South Node. So that's all about, looking under the surface for sure. And our ascendant is on 24 Scorpio as well. And squares from Mars, well, that's not really quite, but so yeah, so Saturn's north node is in Taurus, where Mars is now. So I think that's a resonation. So the discovery chart of Sedna, aligned with Mars going over her north node, means that her energy is probably being activated. And because this is such a long, slow-moving planet that has these very deep, dark themes, I won't go into, but it's a very, very intricate planet, and yeah. So there's her north node at 20 Taurus, and she was discovered at 17 Taurus. That's her glyph there. It looks a little bit like Saturn, actually, the other way around. That's the glyph. Quite often the glyphs have very synchronous, have a story behind them in themselves. So I think, yeah, so what's also interesting here is that she has a lot of her Cancer energy is being activated by the North Node. That circle there at the top where you see that cross, that's called the part of fortune. Part of fortune is indicated by the name, where there's this luck, this opportunity, this gift. And that's conjoined Ceres. Ceres in this other circle here is a little bit like Venus. It's all about nurturing because it has an energy of Virgo and Taurus. And her moon is at 22 degrees Cancer. So even though there's this dark energy of, like under the surface energy of Scorpio, and then her Venus is going to join Pluto and Sag, which is kind of looking for higher meaning. The Cancer energy here, which resonates to our South Node, Capricorn Pluto, is showing that our healing work is really through the emotions, really through nurturing our emotions. And Saturn in Cancer there with the vertex, karmic tie and relationships, is having structure, being responsible for our emotions. Because that there Saturn there trines Mars and Pisces, which is, being very responsible about choosing how we feel, deciding if we like this or if we don't like that. It's ultimately always our choice. And she's got Uranus and Neptune both in Aquarius, and Uranus is resonating to Venus right now. So that's really like, our new world is birthed by our questions, our exploration for, the new world, which is, to me, which I see a lot is the internet, for example. Internet wasn't here 20 years ago, or nothing like it was. On the internet, we can collaborate with others. I find so much value, and I find, like, even though I'm alone, I have a very lonely life where I live. I feel isolated somehow. I can always find my soul family by searching online, by watching astrology videos and philosophical things. So that's really this Aquarius. Our unity is found. We have to find our unity by seeing our uniqueness and looking for the uniqueness in others. That's a very big theme here. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of fun to look at discovery charts. I think they really tell a story of to explore the multi-dimensional nature of astrology. So let's see if there's something else. The moon here. Yeah, I don't see much. M87 is the supergalactic center. Yeah. Yeah, nothing in Scorpio. Jupiter. Jupiter's conjoined Varda. I'm not too sure what Varda is. That's 1 degree orb. Asclepius. Just for fun, let's just see what Varda is. So this is what I do. I'll go on a search engine. I'll do astrology asteroid keyword Varda. So there's literally tens of thousands of asteroids. There we go. Quite often there's forums, but sometimes there's oh no, so this is Wikipedia. That's not really that's just the astronomical. For the astrological interpretation, either look for the astrology forums or particular websites. So here's one description here. It's a fictional character in Tolkien's literature and archangelic power. So you have to kind of discern through it. Sometimes people are just giving their opinions, and quite often interpretations are you have to kind of discern. It's really, really important. So there's not so much here that I see. Yeah. I think quite often, because this is a new field, there's not always that much information about it. So we'll just skip that. Capricorn, Hermes. Pluto's conjoined Hermes in 2 degrees. Amicus, Saturn, Iran. All right, let's Chariklo. Well, just for fun, let's do Saturn is closer. Okay. Iran. Yeah, all right, so TNO watch this. Probably should give some more information. So the astronomy is just the, that information about that. What does he mean to us? Well, early guesses are to equate him to sublime ecstasy of death, aka heaven. He is not quite an underworld god, but more of an other world feel, meaning an altered state of consciousness. Astrologers like Zane Stein go far as to say him as the land of the lotus eaters from the Odyssey. He is not like a punisher, rather he rewards us. Honor is a big thing for him, but not in a severe and ruthless way. It is for Orcus. He seems to be more like a masculine version of Vesta. He knows the way things are meant to be done. He follows the rules and enforces them so that everyone else will do. He is also a master of magic and trickery and keeps many secrets, specifically the arcane secret that knowing's one true nature gives power over them. Negativity he could not indicate negatively as a he could be indicative of escapist and addictive behavior patterns, avoidance of reality and the truth, liars, tricksters, and conmen. Positively, he could relate to those who ease our suffering in this life, a call to aid the less fortunate, doctors without borders, charity workers. Any kind of humanitarian falls under his umbrella. That's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful because that resonates so much to Pluto and Saturn. Saturn is discipline, but it's also Saturn, wants to create order, and Pluto wants to transform. So I think we're really going to transform this world by being spiritual servants, because the sextile to the Piscean energy is having this grounding the spirituality that we all know inside of our soul, making it practical. And it's the efforts. Saturn is serious. But Saturn, I think, has this feminine quality because it's an earth sign. Earth's generally associated with feminine. And I really associate Black Moon Lilith to have a rulership over Saturn, Capricorn. Because if the moon rules Cancer, Black Moon Lilith is the black hole of the moon, so to speak. Then logically that would relate Capricorn to Black Moon Lilith. And Black Moon Lilith is all about alchemy. And that's really interesting to say that synchronistically, because Lilith is going to be controlling Venus. Well, I could do it on this chart. Yeah, mean apogee is at 25. All right, I'll circle this. Mean apogee is basically the mean Black Moon Lilith. 25 degrees of Aquarius, and Venus is 22. 3-degree orb. I think that's definitely been affected. So that's adding an interesting flavor to Venus energy. Lilith in Aquarius really wants freedom from all of the repression that we've been going through for thousands of years, especially through the divine feminine. But this goes for the masculine as well. And we find freedom by really following our heart, and which was Leo. But Aquarius is finding the excitement we have of the interconnectedness. It's a keyword I use often, but Aquarius is really about I can't really think to describe it, but it's the growing trip on the tree of life. It's seeing the things that have already gone on in the world and thinking, wow, it's being created but doing things that have never been done before. And a strong connection with Aquarius is Atlantis, because many say the last age of Atlantis was when the precession of the equinox was when Aquarius. So there's a high technological aspect of Aquarius where it's ruled by electricity, but that electricity can be in ourself, of how our synapses can connect. How we bring because we're all interconnected, and yet we see things as everything is separate. It's the biggest trap, but also the treasure of this game of life. It's a fascinating mystery to me. So Mercury is conjoining Clotho, Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the Roman version of Venus, so that's kind of nice. Yeah, so I'll leave it for that. Explore some others another time. So yeah, just to summarize, this is with the supergalactic sensor on the full moon in Venus. Sorry, Libra. This is really an opportunity for us to use our soul. We heal by opening our heart up to the world. And while that's a simple thing to say, how do I get back here? All right, stop share. There we go. So yeah, it can be a real challenge because we have, with this Aries energy of the sun and Chiron, there's a lot of wounding that can come up, especially when we open ourselves. when we see the external world and we see all the pain and the suffering. But when we have our inner warrior, when we've done our inner work to have the strength inside of us, then when we feel safe in our own soul, then we can open up and allow healing energy to go out to the collective. And instead of fighting the world, we can find freedom in the world. And all this energy of, you know, the Cancer, that's sensitivity, Mars. So I really think when we just do practical work, you know, I'm all about healing the body, you know, being hydrated, and you know, exercise, using the Mars Taurus energy just to cultivate healing, health, and to create the temple, heaven on earth. You know, that's what Uranus and Taurus is going to be asking us to. Do you want heaven? Bliss. It's pretty. I've discovered that actually we create earth, a beautiful earth in us, by the physical healing and the emotional healing of Cancer and Pisces. Then heaven actually comes down to us. So much people say, you know, I want to get out of here. Heaven's out there. It's a celestial place, and it might be, but while we're in this physical world, why not create heaven on earth here? So yeah, just explore. When we see the triggers, ask what is under the surface, and be curious. Because Aries is an inner child. When we let our inner child play, pain can be transmuted into play and pleasure. And when the pain does come, when it is really, really intense, then use Jupiter and use Neptune to ask for support to receive. Because Cancer is receiving, Taurus is receiving, so it's very, very feminine energy. But the Mars energy of will and Jupiter, we ask for help, then we can build the bridge. It'll take step by step, and all of these aspects are portals opening to a new world. And you know, if we just look back on how we've transformed over time, I'm a completely different person than, you know, every year. And I see that the more I help others, the more I help myself. When I give more, I will get more. And I hope that's the same for you. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, keep shining like a starseed that you are. Aloha from Hawaii.